Welcome to the Cup of Mets podcast, episode 27, season 2. I'm Ian Bosniak, joined alongside by Robert Venegas, as always. Rob, you enjoying the beautiful weather today?
What's up, Boz? How's everything? Nothing screams more beautiful than a hurricane or tornado, whatever is going on here in the Northeast. But a little cooler, a little cold to my liking. But again, trying to just enjoy the weekend with my Monday off with Yom Kippur. So thanks for asking.
Yes, happy Yom Kippur to those who celebrate.
Happy Yom Kippur.
Um, yeah, I don't know. This is almost like I don't even know what you would call this, like a tropical storm type deal. But I know
Would
that
this
it's
be
coming.
considered a nor'eastern or
Yeah, it almost feels like a nor'easter. Yeah, it sucks out.
no?
But anyway, yeah. Welcome to the Cup Mets pod. We're getting close to the end here, season 2. Before we dive into it all, remember to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. We are at Cup of Mets. Be sure to rate and subscribe to the podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And lastly, be sure to head over to cupofmets.com for all your latest Cup of Mets merch. So, since we last spoke, per The Athletic, Tommy Pham had a couple choice words for Francisco Lindor, Eduardo Escobar, and Francisco Alvarez when they were all together over a meal at Eduardo's favorite place, Fogo de Chao, when they were in Pittsburgh. And Pham kind of let how he felt about the Mets as a team. And the position players, he let it known to the guys that were at dinner. End quote. Out of all the teams I played on, this is the least hardest working group of position players I've ever played with. He did go on to praise the work ethic of guys like Lindor, Alonso, and Nimmo. However, he was also talking to Escobar at the time and then Francisco Alvarez as well. So, you would think that if it was directed towards them, he would have said it then and there and we would have known about it, right? So kind of leads you to believe first and foremost, do you think that they are, obviously we're not there on a day-to-day basis, but from what you've seen this year, do you think that they could be the least working? I mean, no joke, Tommy Pham's been on 7 teams. I mean, there's a reason. There's a
I'm sorry.
reason.
That was
No,
funny.
no. There's a
Yeah,
reason why he's been on 7 teams potentially,
yeah.
but also he's been around the league and he does work hard. So he has seen a couple of clubhouses. You know what I mean?
No, definitely, definitely.
So,
That's,
so
I just think again, like to rebuttal off your point, and that was funny. That remark about him being on 7 teams, but even though you weren't trying to be funny, but
uh,
again, if this game was based on how hard people worked, I think Major League Baseball, me and you would be in it. Again, the results matter on the field more than not more than working hard, but again, hard work leads to better results in my opinion. But again, I don't know, maybe he's just the way the team has been playing, just the way the team gelled or meshed this year, in terms of chemistry and shit like that. Maybe some things rub Tommy Pham the wrong way. Do I know who he's talking about? Not really. Um, I do want to clarify though, for those that didn't read the whole story, that he did respect the work ethics, like you said, of guys like Lindor, Alonso, and Nimmo. So I don't think the core needs to change at all. But in the end, like you said, Tommy Pham's been around the league. He's been around a lot of different teams. So maybe he just didn't enjoy or not enjoy, but didn't like some of the work ethics from some Mets. So, again, and I guess that which comes to which he believes that that's why they weren't successful. Again, I don't know. Is it true? Probably. Am I going to throw guys under the bus? Am I going to guess names? Yeah, because that's what we do here on the podcast. We guess, we talk about the Mets, and
yeah, who do we think it was?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, but it could have been anyone. It could have been Verlander, Scherzer. It could have been
No,
McNeil,
no,
Marte.
no.
I mean,
He was talking about position players, man.
okay, okay.
I
So
think
those
he
two
was.
names,
I don't know.
forget that.
I think he was talking about. Obviously, people have thrown out names, and we're probably repeating what people have heard. But like a Jeff McNeil or a Starling Marte. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
obviously Marte's dealt with injuries and he's been working his way back, but He's also, while he's had an oblique injury, posted an Instagram photo with his, lady on his lap, straddling him after he got, engaged. And that he's,
He's
you know,
enjoying life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's living life despite, being off the field.
Yeah.
And then a guy like McNeil, he always golfs, so you don't know the work that, he's always putting in. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to go ahead. I mean, they're two really, really good players when they're on, so I don't want to
I
really
mean,
say
yeah, and
anything, but
we've seen it all second half from Jeff. He's been tearing the cover off the ball, and he's been looking like the Jeff McNeil from last year, but too little, too late. Obviously, but again, those are two guys that could potentially fit what Tommy Pham's talking about. I mean, it's hard to see a guy like Mark Canha, who was with the Mets, now got traded to the Brewers. It's hard to see him having a bad work ethic,
yeah,
considering
no.
how headstrong he is in terms of just his opinions and beliefs, and just his approach of the game of baseball in general. Every time Mark Canha spoke, it was like I was listening to a college professor. But I love Mark Canha as well, so I don't think it was Canha. Maybe guys that weren't really getting time.
Maybe
I
Narvaez.
mean Narvaez, because again he's with Alvarez, so obviously Alvarez was out the picture, and Escobar's Escobar. Everybody loves Escobar, but
And also Narvaez was somebody who came in here
mhm,
expecting to kind of start
yeah,
every day.
yeah, to be that stopgap for Francisco Alvarez. Obviously Alvarez kind of tore up the minor leagues this year, and shot his way up to the big leagues. But again, you got to know your place, in my opinion. And when you're hitting 198, no matter if you're playing 10 games in a row or just playing one out of every five, it doesn't matter. When your name is called, you got to be ready. And I could see Narvaez being not a cancer again, but just being a little salty because again he's not consistently playing, expected to play, and maybe that did diminish his work ethic. But again, Tommy Pham is known for being heard, um, and kind of like you said, just being jumping from team to team, and again so
Slapping people.
maybe yeah, slapping people over fantasy football money. But
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of like icing on the cake, to be honest. If someone didn't drop an article like this, and with the type of season we're having, it's not the 2023 New York Mets. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, kind of respect his opinion, just like Brandon Nimmo did, and you know,
Yeah.
he had a lot to say about the critical comments. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have Nemo's replies there? Because I
Yeah,
know
so
that.
he was asked. Nimmo said, ultimately in this game, results matter. He told Mike Puma of the New York Post, and I don't think anybody really cares about how hard you work, how you work. I think all they care about is what the results are on the field. Again, he said he had a good relationship with Pham and respects his work ethic. He doesn't feel like lack of hard work has been the Mets' main issue this season. And then again, he continued to say, if this game was based on how hard people work, there would probably be a lot more people here. There's
Yeah.
definitely an amount I have done, a lot of guys. But ultimately, you have got to do whatever gets you ready for the season or for the game. And this year, the results didn't match what we were expecting. Whether we put in a ton of hard work or we didn't, that can all be speculated. Tommy has a very valuable opinion because he has been around the league a long time. He's seen a lot of different organizations, which a lot of us haven't. So he definitely has a right to say his opinion on the season. But all I know is whatever you do as far as your work goes, it only matters as far as your results on the field. So, again,
I mean,
I couldn't agree more.
Nimmo really didn't deny anything there.
No, no, and I think it's just out of respect for both Tommy Pham and the Mets. And again, just Brandon Nimmo being Brandon Nimmo right there. So
So with the 6 games remaining, um, obviously there's not a ton to look forward to. Me personally, Rob, you and I were talking pre-show about this. I'm big on Tankathon, baby. The Mets are a half game out of that 6 slot that would allow them to retain one of the top 6 draft picks. Won't move their slot back 10 picks because of the tax threshold since Steve Cohen went over. So, I hate to say that I'm rooting for the Mets to lose, but I wouldn't mind if they lost a couple games.
yeah,
The better the draft pick, listen, we get to stack up the farm system and then we also get to spend. Remember that. Also, I think we're both looking for Kodai Senga finish out strong. I think he's making his last start of the season on Wednesday. Really looking forward to seeing what he has in store. Hopefully, get over that 200K mark. Um, The last thing is obviously the development and the last couple plate appearances that we're going to see from the likes of Mauricio, Beatty, Vientos.
Hmm.
Um, Alvarez as well, but Alvarez has been here. He's already posted 2.5 WAR thus far, so he's been an impactful player. Has played in, 118 games. So, we'll pass on Frankie there, but Ronnie Mauricio,
Yes,
he
sir.
hit his second home run yesterday in Philly.
He
Golfed one,
did. He did.
golfed one. That was like a
Hmm.
Yoenis Cespedes shot.
Oh yeah.
The way that he took that ball off, the way that he took the ball off the ground there, absolutely, absolutely. It was
Ronnie.
112 miles per hour off the bat.
Hmm.
I, we've spoken about him before, but what do we continue to see? What are we liking from Ronnie? Where do we see him fitting in for 2024 here?
I mean, we just continue to see, good ABs, honestly, and great. I mean, good to great defensive skills, whether it's at second or third. And even on the base pass, I mean, he stole a run the other day in Philly. He did some Ellie De La Cruz shit, which is awesome. And it brings a little spark to the not only the lineup but the team in general. But again, we could have used this a couple months later, a couple months ago. But again, I'm all for Ronnie Mauricio in
We're going to talk
2024.
about that in the season wrap up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. But I'm all for Ronnie Mauricio in 2024. I'd like to see him at third base, to be honest. Whether he's hitting from the right side or the left side, he puts up a good AB. What's interesting to me is his chase rate is 41%, which is, it's not good, but it's not great. But again, his chase contact is almost 55%, meaning that he doesn't swing and miss a lot. His whiff percentage is low. He's recognizing pitches. And, again, I like his aggressive approach. I mean, 30% of the time he's swinging at the first pitch. And not only that, he's above average in exit velo. So, again, when you hit the ball hard, good things are going to happen. And, he's been doing that. And he's reached, you talk about, miles per hour on that home run, 112 from the right side. His first MLB hit was 117 off the bat from the
Yep.
left side. So again, not only can he, hit from both sides, but again, he just shows the raw power and the raw strength in that 22-year-old body. So again, Ronnie Mauricio, I'm all for him at third base next year. Again, it's a good problem to have, though. Very good problem to have going into the offseason.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Mauricio to me, I think that he could play third or second pretty smoothly. I think we've seen it so far already. He looks comfortable doing both. He looks like he's been doing both for a while, which is great. I think it just kind of depends on where the Mets need him, right?
Yeah.
Um, and where they ultimately feel that he fits best, and where
Mm-hmm.
the Mets feel that the guys like Beatty and Vientos also fit. Um, to me, what I like about him, as you said, he goes up there, hacking. He's not like everybody else who goes up there waiting for that pitch and then
Yeah.
just, rips and explodes and waiting for to draw that walk. He
Mm-hmm.
may be striking out at a 20, 26, nearly a 27% clip, with just over 80 plate appearances to his name. But when he goes up there, he's swinging. And as I've said in the past, we've seen somebody like Brett Beatty get overpowered with a fastball
Yeah.
or, get fooled with a changeup. With Marani Mauricio, he seems to just those quick wrists, he just seems to be ready. He just seems to be ready. And on top of it all, you said, the Ellie De La Cruz shit, and, he brings a different dynamic to the team. He's also got 6 stolen bags in 20 games. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And
Very important, which the Mets have been lacking as of late.
yeah,
Not as of
listen,
late, but again, like we had an issue with speed ever since Jose Reyes kind of left us, and again, it's good to have guys that could probably potentially steal more than 10 to 15 bags a year, and not just Lindor. But again, usually with a rookie like that too, he has trouble with a particular pitch. Um, Obviously, looking back in our Mets fandom, I'm gonna bring up an old name, Michael Conforto. He had trouble with the lefty breaking ball, with the lefties in general. But with Ronnie Mauricio, he's hitting 250 against the fastball, 273 against the breaking ball, and 263 on an off-speed pitch. He's got more than 5 hits, whether it's a fastball, breaking ball, or changeup. Again, this guy's just a natural hitter, and the strikeouts. I see where you're coming from with the strikeouts. They are high, but at the end of the day, I'd rather him swing and miss. Not even swing and miss, but I'd rather him be an aggressive approach up there. not put himself in that hole where he's 0-2,
I
one
couldn't agree
2.
more.
Again, he's just a natural hitter.
I couldn't agree more. And like, for instance, there was a plate appearance, I think, last night where
Mm-hmm.
it was a first pitch fastball in on his
Yeah.
hands, right? And he ripped one foul down the
Yeah.
line, right? And normally I would be like, come on, take that. That's a borderline strike call. You want to get ahead in the count, or that's just not a great pitch to swing at. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is that he almost looks as if he can rip that and keep it fair. And
Yeah.
to me, that's something that he's got talent and he's got a ton of potential, as you said before. When he hits the ball, he hits the shit out of the ball,
Mm-hmm.
averaging 92 miles per hour off the bat. So every out that he's hit has been hard. Again, obviously, we want to see him with maybe a little bit more of a disciplined approach at the plate in terms of laying off some pitches that are in the dirt, or because we have seen him be a little over anxious. But if he could, get those walks up a little bit, that would bring a completely different dynamic to his game, because he's only walking a little over 6% of the time. Which again, walks aren't everything, but you want to get on base. You want to create opportunities for other guys.
Some of these numbers though, they're like sick. Like sweet spot percentage is great. Hard hit percentage great. Barrel percentage, like baseball savant's legit, man. But I mean, again,
Baseball Savants might is the
no, it's
best.
legit,
It's the
man. I
best
mean,
site.
these are important. This is important stuff to know because I'm like looking at this, comparing them to the other baby Mets and Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos. And Brett Beatty, you were saying it before. He's actually qualified in terms of baseball savant. He's
Yeah.
got enough ABs. He's seen enough pitches to be qualified for
Yeah,
the.
and that's where kind of we dive into like where Mauricio fits best,
Yeah,
because you said third, and we're saying that because obviously Jeff McNeil's a second baseman by trade, but he's a utility player. But we have Jet Williams and Luis Angel Acuna who are on the fast track, and they're both second baseman, center fielder. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So then you bring up a guy like Brett Beatty, who, listen, over his last 7 games, he's hitting 280,
Mm-hmm.
308 on base percentage, slugging 520. He's got 2 home runs. But those home runs have been on fastballs that are at the belt high, and he slugs them. They've been impressive, sure, without a doubt. They've been impressive, but they've been pitches that are right there in his wheelhouse. To me, Beatty continues, despite the 280 average, continues to fall behind 0-2. And any type of pitch that has any sort of sink or change on the velo that's down over the plate, he can't reach. It's almost like he's too tall to reach it with his bat. Does that make any sense? It's it's
I
it's
don't think
it's
he's too
literally
tall, but I just think he doesn't hit the breaking ball well or the off speed well. I mean, again, the numbers don't lie. Against the fastball, he's hitting around 240, 250, and then the breaking ball changeup off speed type pitch is below 200. So
yeah.
again, I mean, to your point though, when he does go down 0-2, it's not obviously not good. Again, he's not like Mauricio. He's actually completely opposite. He doesn't swing at the first pitch at all. Only 23% of the time. Not saying that you have to. Again, he's more of a patient approach, but his chase rate, or excuse me, his chase rate is high. Whiff percentage is high. I mean, again, I guess he's just not recognizing the pitch. He does hit the high fastball pretty well, but again, teams have caught on and they see that he's not good against the breaking ball and changeup. So maybe that's why they just throw it low in the dirt, spike one, and see if he chases, which majority of the time he does.
Think about this. I'm not a big
Mm-hmm.
batting average guy, right? But
Mm-hmm.
on the changeup, on the changeup here in 2023, he's hitting 162.
Mm-hmm.
Against the curveball, he's hitting 133. Against the slider, he's hitting 185. He's striking out 50% of the time against the slider. He's striking out at nearly 47% against the curveball, and he's whiffing 41% of the time against the changeup, nearly and a 34% strikeout percentage on the changeup. To me, it's alarming that, as you mentioned before, he's qualified. It's
Mhm.
alarming that he hasn't made any sort of adjustments. And
No, yeah.
hopefully maybe these last 7 games,
Mhm.
in terms of what we've seen over the last 7, have been an indicator that maybe he's coming around.
Yeah.
But he's still not hitting those breaking pitches, those off speed pitches. And that development is kind of worrying me and making me think that he could potentially be somebody who's dealt this offseason
Mhm.
as a trade chip.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. Again, I could see him being in a trade package, but again, he's still only 23 years old. I understand you're a little worried, but I had mentioned last episode that maybe seeing Ronnie get reps at third and Mark starting to hit the ball a little bit, maybe that's a little competition gets the best of us sometimes. So maybe his last 7 games, he's telling himself, "Hey, I'm starting to suck. I gotta kind of go and get tough attitude right now, and I gotta kind of play for my job here and
Have you
for future, to be honest. Because
have
again,
you
those last
seen
seven
him
games, you see it's 280, 2 home runs,
have you seen
slugging
him make
520.
have you seen him make any adjustments though? Because I personally haven't. Have you seen him make any adjustments
No,
that
no, it's still
have
the same
made
stance,
have that
same
has put the
swing.
ball in the air? Because he's not putting the ball in the air.
I mean, maybe that's just not his game. I guess again, he's got to go into the lab and work on that if that's what the Mets want him to do. But again, he when we drafted him, what was he known as? A gap to gap hitter. So
Yeah, but you got to
again,
get the
maybe
ball
that's
in
just
the air
him.
in
But
order to
again,
do that.
yeah, no, not necessarily. I mean, look at Daniel Murphy. He never hit home runs until he got to the Nationals.
Well, but he ripped the ball into the gaps, and
Yeah, line
Brett Beatty
drive,
isn't even
line
a gap
drive,
to
and a
gap
fly
hitter
ball is
right now.
different. Lifting the ball is a fly ball. Line drive with
He's
some
not. He's not.
velocity on it,
All
it's
right,
gonna it's
not
gonna
even a line
rise. But
drive. There's no
still
there's
only hitting 211. So what? Or 215. So he strikes out too much. So you're worried about hitting the ball in the air. How about putting the ball in play?
do we have do we have his launch angle? I'm not like this, dude. I'm not like this. His average launch angle is 6.6. I don't
And
know. Is
what's
that
the
fucking?
MLB average?
I don't know. That's why I was literally about to say, is that fucking good? I don't know. We got to figure that out.
MLB
Um,
average launch angle.
yeah, like what's
MLB
last year?
average.
Well, I can tell you this. Last year his launch angle was 10
And now it's at 6.
6.
All right. So
That's why I'm saying he's not like he's just not like.
okay, but okay, look, definition. There's a definition on MLB.com.
All right, here we go.
So line drive, 10 to 25 degrees. What was his launch angle at last year? Oh, okay. And then ground ball less than 10 degrees. So okay, to your point, he's not lifting the ball, yes, but
Yeah, he's not lifting the ball this year.
then a fly ball is 25 to 50 and a pop up is greater than 50 degrees. So there you go. So
All right,
we
we got
know
to write this down somewhere.
so it's probably the average is probably 10 to 25 is where you want to be.
Right, right. Okay,
Because if you look, similar batters, JD Davis.
here we go. I'll dive in.
Yeah, mine's loading right here. Launch angle. Here we go. Where's it at? Aha.
Average
JD
launch angle
Davis, 8.
7.9.
Yeah, 8. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
And
8.
how many home runs does he have?
18. Yeah, but
Ooh.
look at all of his other numbers.
Yeah, I know. He hits the ball hard though. 92,
That's what I'm
92.
saying. When you're also looking at Beatty, I just saw this just because I looked at JD Davis. JD Davis has improved his glove big time.
Yeah, he has
Um Brett Beatty's
92
outs
percentile
above
in range.
outs above average. He's -4 outs above average in terms of range, and he's only in the 16th percentile. Like,
Mhm.
and that's why, like, to me, I'm almost like I'm hoping that Beatty really, and I hate to give up on somebody who's just 23, but
Yeah.
you're looking around the club. You're not trading Acuna, you're not trading Williams. The Mets are going to need to trade
Mhm.
for a starting pitcher this offseason. Okay.
No,
So,
yeah, yeah, I
and
agree.
even though they're going to have to go through free agency, like somebody's going to have to go
Yeah.
and like out of these kids. And
Mhm.
to me, I think that Mauricio is too dynamic to deal. We've already established that, right? And
Mhm.
then a guy like Beatty is the only other person that's going to really, really hold value because Vientos, some teams may see as just one dimensional and not as high as a ceiling as a guy like Beatty,
Mm, okay. I like
right?
Vientos though. I think he could be an asset, an everyday asset. Not
Yeah.
for the Mets, but maybe for a different team.
Okay, but why not for the Mets now? Because I'm watching Vientos on a day-to-day basis right
Hmm.
now, and um, I like what I'm seeing in terms of him potentially being a portion of that DH slot for next
Okay.
year.
All right. I don't, again, I don't have a problem with that. I think again, I think he's just a natural hitter as well. He also hits the ball like very hard. I mean, again, just a guy that straight out of Miami can
He
hit the
needs more.
baseball hard. That's it. But no, again,
He needs
one,
more plate discipline. That's
yeah, no,
definitely.
exactly. He strikes out a lot as well. But again, I just see Pete Alonso at first. I don't know. He hasn't really gotten reps at third.
Mark Vientos is a very below average fielder.
Hmm.
He has. I feel like personally, to me, I think he has a better arm than Brett Beatty.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Beatty's a much better third baseman
Okay.
defensively than Mark Vientos. I think Vientos is more of a designated hitter. I think he's more of
Mm.
a natural hitter just in general. Um,
But why do we have to platoon all the time with the DH? You
well,
think?
that's the thing. We don't.
All
So,
right. So
but I don't know
yeah.
if we're ready to hand the reins off to a kid that's going to be 24 years old to be your everyday DH. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, but now
Fair.
that we've seen him play every day, he's starting to hit better,
Yeah.
right?
So okay.
So
So but as a DH, okay, and then again, when Pete or whoever's at third needs a day off, you just swap them because we saw
exactly.
that the other day. Pete DH, Mark was at first, and whoever else. But I don't know. I just think because again, I don't know. Beatty has more potential maybe in the Mets eyes, and he's a lefty. Third
Yeah,
baseman of the
higher
future.
ceiling.
Yeah, higher ceiling, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? But Mark Vientos, I would love him to be paired, but with a guy that's gonna do not a Daniel Vogelbach or like a not a like a D. I'll give DJ Stewart a shot, but I don't need
I
Daniel
think
Vogelbach
DJ's
platooning and splitting plate appearances with Mark Vientos.
I think you gotta, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Listen, I think that what the Mets should do is I think that they should go and they should have Mark Vientos be the right. And again, I agree with you. I don't know why we always need to have a platoon
Mm-hmm.
at DH. Like, there's no need to, right?
Yeah.
You can even say the same over at third base. Hey, let's platoon Vientos and Beatty. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but here's the thing about Vientos. Vientos, even though he has a lower average against right-handed pitchers, he has more pop and slugs higher. He's hit 6 home runs against right-handed pitchers and driven in 15 runs, where he's only hit 2 home runs and driven in five against left-handed pitching. So even to make an argument that he should be the platoon, I think now I'm questioning that. Um, so I don't know. Maybe he's just your DH. Rob, we know that the Mets are going to be active in free agency. There's also a chance, as I brought up before, that they could deal a prospect or two and get a pitcher in return since they're going to have 3 open slots. With that said, do you think that we're seeing any sort of a competition right now between Peterson, Megill, Jose Butto, and Joey Lucchesi? Do you think we're seeing maybe a little bit of a competition for the fifth slot in the rotation next year?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, again, two of the four guys you mentioned, Peterson and McGill, have been part of the rotation in the past. Again, a guy like McGill has started opening day last year, and you see the potential he has, and
Yeah.
he's like a kind of like a dog, honestly, in terms of just when he's on the mound, when he's on. And even with a guy like Peterson, that back foot slider is nasty. His ceiling is very high as well. And first round draft pick, I'll say it till the day I die. I mean, again, you give him the edge a little bit. Age is a factor. He's a 6'6" lefty, 240. He throws 95, 96, 97 if you really wanted to. But again, do I think we're seeing part of a competition? Probably. They'll definitely look back into this latter half of the season, the last 2, 3 months when all these guys were pitching consistently, and they'll definitely factor it in when making a decision for 2024.
Yeah, I truly believe that David Stearns is going to come in, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that he's going to sign a big time starter to go along with, and I think it's going to be Yamamoto. And if it's not going to be Yamamoto, then it'll be they'll trade for somebody that's really good and then sign
Yeah.
like an innings eater.
Hmm.
and then go with one of these guys as the fifth starter. I agree with you. I love the ceiling on Peterson.
Hmm.
I think that he's been, really solid. He got roughed up in his last outing. But again, 445 FIP, 360 expected FIP. He's nearly been worth one WAR this year in 20 starts.
Yeah.
Um, Tylor Megill, though, he's looked much better. He's looked so much better.
Hmm.
And again, obviously, we've seen the most from Peterson and McGill out of the four, and Butto and Lucchesi. And Lucchesi has looked really good, so has Jose Butto. But McGill over his last three starts, 3.35 ERA. Um, do you see him doing anything differently? Uh, to me, I see him sustaining his velocity a little bit more and
Hmm.
being a little bit more consistent with his delivery.
Okay.
Um, and I don't know if that's playing a part in it. I don't know if I'm overanalyzing it. Um, but I don't know. I see a big improvement within Tylor Megill, and it's been like over his last like three or four starts.
Hmm. Well, I just think he's not really walking too many guys. He's leaving the ball in the ballpark a little bit. I mean, those last three starts look like Tylor Megill of old. And again, I just think pitching consistently and not going up and down to AAA and MLB plays a factor as well. Maybe again he's starting to just get in a groove, honestly, because again sometimes people, well, not again when you see McGill consistently getting a fifth day of work, he thrives off it and he kind of just takes it and runs with it. So I mean, again, just keeping the walks down. His whip the last 7 games has lowered, so that's a good thing. And again, he's also just 28 years old. He's also 6'7", 230, which again I love pitchers with tall stature. It gives me like a Josh. What was that guy from the Marlins? Josh Johnson.
Josh
He's
Johnson, and you
he's
said
like
it.
6'9".
He's a dog, and that's what
Yeah,
Josh Johnson was. He's a dog when he's
yeah.
out there and he's on.
No, exactly. He's like a here's my fastball, hit it type of pitcher, and again the Mets need that.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this much: he hasn't allowed more than three earned runs since his start against
Mhm.
Atlanta on
That's
August
good.
11th.
Yeah, no, that's good. And again, I hate to leave. I hate to not talk about guys like Jose Butto and Lucchesi because they deserve some credit as well. But I'll say I said it once, I'll say it again. I really like Jose Butto as the Trevor Williams of 2024. Again, he's got a good fastball changeup mix. And I think he could just be that guy that if a starter doesn't have it, just eat up 2 3 innings, and kind of just keep the Mets in the game.
I do agree. I do
Mhm.
agree. Listen, he did fare wonderfully yesterday against the Phillies. Gave up 4 runs across
Mhm.
4 innings. Did take the L, but did induce a decent amount of swing and misses. It's that changeup and it's that fastball that rises. Um, I agree with you, and I gotta be honest. It's funny. I was thinking this week. I'm like, you know, for the last several episodes, I've been saying like,
Mhm.
McGill's my Trevor Williams replacement for 2024, and you've
Mhm.
been saying like, I don't know, Buto is probably that guy, and all of a sudden this week I'm saying to myself, no, maybe Buto does belong in the pen as that long man that can come in and overpower somebody. And then you let a guy like McGill compete with Peterson for a fifth spot,
Mhm.
along with the Lucchesi, and kind of see how that plays out, because then you have more depth than the Mets had this year and thought that they were going to have. Um,
Yeah.
but again, Jose Butto is missing bats, and that's something that I really like to see. 32 strikeouts in his last 31 innings, and he hasn't walked more than three batters since April. So he's been commanding the strike zone. He's been throwing a lot of first pitch strikes. I really like what I'm seeing from Butto. If he could translate into that pen, the Mets could have a weapon. I think you are right in that, Rob.
Yeah, no, and again, I'm looking at his baseball savant page. I find it interesting that last year, 20% of the time, hitters were getting the barrel on the baseball when Jose Butto was pitching. This year, 3% of the time. So that's a substantial difference right there. Clearly, he's worked on location, and clearly, he's worked on keeping the ball down.
Yep.
And again, and even with the sweet spot percentage, last year 44%, this year 25. So again, kudos to Jose Butto, and I'm rooting for you to get a spot on the 2024 New York Mets.
Yeah, no, and I definitely think he will, because when David Stearns ultimately brings in the pitching lab, quote unquote,
Hmm.
and allows some of these guys to develop even further, that are already at the major league level, you're going to see a better version of Peterson. You're going to see a better version of Megill. You're going to see a better version of Jose Butto. And again, a guy like Butto, he's only 25 years old, whereas the others are 27, 28, 29. So, um, listen, again, Butto may have taken the L yesterday, but he's been looking good. McGill's been looking good. Peterson may have gotten roughed up, but he's been looking much better as of late.
Hmm.
Joey Lucchese's looked good. So again, these are all good signs for the Mets to go into the offseason with. Gives them a little bit more ammunition when they go ahead and they look at the market, whether it be trade or free agency, and try to fill those spots. So as we wind down episode 27 here of season 2 of the Cup of Mets podcast, Robbie, any final words?
We made it. I mean, 6 more games left is crazy to say, but again, 2023, a year to forget. Again, thanks for all the support. Make sure you visit cupofmets.com, and we'll be back for a couple more episodes and for the off season. So can't wait.
Can't wait. Poetic justice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bart Scott.
Good
No,
dude.
listen. Yeah, no, I agree. It's been a tough year, to say the least. 6 more games is wild. You and I literally were just in, I feel like we were just in Miami. But I will say while it's been like a really shitty year, I feel like it's been a fun year for us. Just going to Miami, going to Boston, um, you
Definitely
know,
100%.
ton of games at Citi Field, seeing some good matchups. Um,
We should
so
always say
listen,
that we saw Justin Verlander pitch as a man.
yeah, yeah, we saw Verlander
Not make
pitch as a
light of the
Met.
situation.
Yeah, saw the development of Kodai Sanga. Hopefully, turns in another tremendous season next year, solidifies himself as an ace. He's already doing so. He's going to get some Cy Young votes in his rookie year. So, listen, there are some positives to draw from. With that being said, again, as Rob mentioned, we're going to be on for 3 more episodes for the remainder of season 2. Um, we'll have one more during the regular season, then we'll wrap up with a season recap, followed by a little bit of a off-season preview, and then we will be back towards the end of November for the hot stove, as Rob mentioned. With that being said, be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. We are at Cup of Mets. Also, be sure to rate and subscribe to the pod, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And visit cupofmets.com for all your latest Cup of Mets merch. With all that, for Robert Venegas, I'm Ian Bosniak. We'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Good night.